Hey folks, I'm Sean and this is Hope and Encouragement. Today I want to talk to you about shame and our mental health. So let's get into it. Hey, if you like the content, hit the like button. Leave me a message below. Let me know what your thoughts are. You know what? Even if you don't like it, hit the unlike button. Hit the thumbs down. I'm good with it. That's fine. I want you to do that, but leave me a note. Tell me why. Leave me a message. All right. How does shame, guilt, and embarrassment affect our mental health, and what can we do to overcome? I was originally going to do this as one video for all three, but then once I get into doing the research, I realized it is too large for one video. So I cut it down. This is going to be a three-part series. Today we're doing shame. Next video will be about guilt, and then the third one will be about embarrassment, because they're so intertwined. And yet they're so different. It's like three sisters. You know, Native Americans have corn, beans, and squash. Well, when it comes to this topic, you've got shame, guilt, and embarrassment. So for us to really get into shame, we have to know what the definition of shame is. And one definition is shame is an unpleasant, self-conscious emotion, typically associated with a negative evaluation of the self, withdrawal motivations, and feelings of distress, exposure, mistrust, powerlessness, and worthlessness. So when I was doing my research, I came across this great article by Lori Shannon of Clearview Treatment Center in Venice, California. And I am going to put a link to the article in the description below. So check it out. And I really want you to go read it, because you only remember about 30% of what you hear. But you'll remember 60 to 70% of what you read. And it goes up even more once you hear it and read it. So really, go to the link, check it out. Lori did a great job on this article. I'm basically rehashing her article because it was so good. Normally I don't do that. Normally I do my own. But on this one I said, no, she did such a great job. I'm just taking hers, you know. So thank you, Lori. I appreciate it. Okay, so we need to get into this on 5 ways shame impacts our life. And for number 1, Lori put, people who live with shame often avoid relationships, vulnerability, and community. Research shows that shame leads people to hide and self-conceal. People who feel ashamed hide from community and friendship. They avoid vulnerability and never share their true selves with the world. So are you doing that? Are you not sharing your true self with the world? Are you hiding? Are you going out into public with this fake smile and this fake mask and everything else? So that's something that we need to overcome. That's something that shame is making you do, and you got to find healing for that shame. So for number 2, Lori has, people who live with shame are prone to suppressing their emotions. Shame is associated with suppression of emotions, particularly in women. People who feel ashamed of who they are or ashamed of something that happened to them often keep their thoughts and feelings wrapped up inside. Okay? Men experience shame too. So I don't want to say it was just women, because I experienced a horrible amount of shame from my childhood, from my PTSD as a volunteer firefighter, to being a truck driver and seeing all this destruction in tornado disaster areas and hurricane disaster areas. And I felt all the shame because I couldn't do anything more than just bring a truckload of water, and that was it. That's all I could do. And I seen all these people who lost everything. So I felt a lot of shame there. All right, number 3. People who live with shame often feel worthless, depressed, and anxious. Please hear this one. This is my number 1 point, okay? And I'm going to start it over. I really want you to hear this one. People who live with shame often feel worthless, depressed, and anxious. Shame can be a contributing factor in depression, anxiety, and low self-esteem. People who are constantly ashamed live out a difficult emotional and mental battle each and every day. My goodness, is that hard? To live with that every single day of your life. That is so mentally draining. Oh my goodness. And if you have a job and you're going to work and you're dealing with the stress there and you got the stress of the shame upon you, and then when you come home, you're wiped out, you're just exhausted. And then some of you are single parents and you're still trying to function as a parent. My goodness, please, let's work on that. Let's get that healed. Number 4, people who live with shame are less likely to take healthy risks. One way that shame has been conceptualized is as a defense against being devalued by others. Shame keeps people from making decisions that would lead others to devalue them. Sometimes this leads to avoiding healthy risks. People who deal with shame sometimes only make decisions about jobs, relationships, and school that they feel certain will end well. And that's what Lori's talking about, is you're not taking a healthy enough risk to be where you want to be in life. You might be settling for a relationship because it's safe. You're not married and a relationship's horrible and you're being treated like crap, but you're like, well, this is good enough. It's just me. After everything I've done or everything I've been done to me, this is all I deserve. Well, stop. You deserve more. You're valuable. You need to treat yourself like you're valuable. All right. So number 5, on 5 ways that shame impacts our lives. People who live with shame are more likely to relapse back into problem behaviors. Research shows that people who struggle with alcoholism, are more likely to relapse back into drinking if they experience shame. My goodness. And that's one of the things that my counselor and I had to work on and I had to deal with in group therapy. So I've got that barrier. I've got that extra defense against relapse. People who are ashamed of their behavior sometimes purposely continue in that behavior because they don't believe that change or healing is possible. Shame can be the reason people choose not to take steps towards healing. People who live with shame believe they are worthless, and so they often begin to treat themselves as though they are worthless by engaging in behaviors that they know are bad for their health and well-being. So in other words, that's going back to the alcohol, the drugs, or the abusive relationship. Don't do that. Let's get some healing done here. And so that's why Lori caps her article off with 5 ways out of shame. All right, so number 1, she goes to seek out relationships and commit to vulnerability with safe people. Do everything in your power to find community. Shame begins to disappear when it is shared in a safe place. When I was in rehab, we met every single night as a group. This was just an all-men's group, and we all met. And when one man, these were tough guys, all right? And when we all met, and once one of us would start sharing something that was really deep and really vulnerable, something that we really hadn't shared at all before, then it would just open up. And everyone else felt safe that they could share what was going on with them. And I'm just telling you what, man, that's where healing takes place. It really is. And I encourage you to get into a group therapy, maybe not co-ed therapy, because just like if you had put a woman in there with us in that group therapy, none of the men would have opened up. Not a single one of them, because they would all be trying to look tough for the woman, be tough for the woman that was in the room. So I encourage you to attend either if you're a man, attend a man's group. If you're a woman, attend a woman's group, because you can understand each other a lot better and you feel safer in that group environment. I know I did. And if there'd been women in that group, I never would have opened up. I wouldn't have said the things that I said, and I wouldn't have told them about the things that happened in my life because I was trying to be tough. That's what I would have been. All right. So, number 1, seek out relationships and commit to vulnerability with safe people. Do everything in your power to find community. Shame begins to disappear when it is shared in a safe place. All right, so number 2, move out of your head and into the open. Don't keep everything inside. Put your shame out into the world. Write about the shame. Share your story of shame. Create artwork that represents your shame. Shame finds healing when it is taken outside of ourselves and placed into the world in some way. And that goes back to number one. You got to be sharing about it. And you got to find an outlet for it to get it out so you can get healing from it. So that way you can get to the kind of life that you truly want. Have the happiness and the joy that you truly want to have. All right, number 3, develop self-compassion. Please do this. Oh my goodness. This is such a hard one, I know, but please develop self-compassion. Consider what you would say to a friend who is feeling the same thing you feel. Begin to respond to yourself with love and care and concern, just as you would respond to others with love, care, and concern. Man, I have seen so many people just literally hate themselves. I've seen people literally drop a plate of food and cuss themselves so horribly and call themselves such horrible names, and it came from a place of rage. It came from a place of hatred. It came from a place of pure frustration for themselves. Folks, if you're there, please, 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 be calling a counselor, okay? Take one small risk. Attempt something that might end in failure. Do something that is difficult. You will either succeed and find hope that you can do more than you thought, or you might fail and realize that failure isn't the end of the world. Either way, you begin to find healing for your shame. This artwork, I never would have done it had it not been for step number 4 right here. My counselor made me do it. She made us all do it. Here I am, this grown man, and I've got a thing of finger paint. And, here at me, I'm going, finger paint? Really? You got to be kidding me. Well, she was really smart. It actually worked, and I got a house full of artwork now. I've got my artwork on every wall in the house. Number 5, believe that healing is possible. Make one good decision in the right direction and see how you feel. Believe that you can choose to make good choices over and over again until your life is completely changed. Man, I know that a lot of times that we don't feel like we can make good choices. We've been in one bad relationship after another. We've been in one bad job. We've made one bad decision time and again. It gets better. Once you start working on it, once you start getting it out there, once you start being honest and sharing, okay, then you can start making good choices. Because once you make that first good choice, then you've got something to compare. Like, hey, I made a good decision here. And there's all these bad decisions. I felt really good about this. Those made me feel really bad. So let's make this type of decision again. And let's see where it goes. And that'll just keep happening to you. It'll be like a domino effect. One of the best places to take these steps is in counseling with a mental health professional. So look them up. I'm going to put links to Lori's article in the description. I'm also going to put links to Revive Life House. That's just for men. It's a faith-based rehabilitation center. I'm also going to put one in there for Isaiah House. That is a men and women's center. The men have one facility, and the women have another separate facility. And look them up. And if you're not in Kentucky or if you're not in California, get on Google. Look for a facility. Look for a counselor. You may not need intensive therapy. Maybe you're not addicted to alcohol or drugs. Maybe you're clinically depressed. Maybe you've been fighting this all your life. You need someone to spur you on to get you back into therapy. So I'm encouraging you to do that right now. Take a look at it. Think about it. I've planted the seed. Pour some water on it. Okay? Remember, you are valuable. You are important. And you are loved. And I'll see you on the next video.